My name is Robert Hughes. I'm 45 years old. I served as a Navy diver, pushing my body to the limits, facing dangers most people can't even imagine. But none of those challenges prepared me for what I was about to experience. An encounter so profound, it would forever change the way I see life, death, and eternity. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. And if you believe in the power of faith and the strength of family, be sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss inspiring stories like this one. Now, let me take you back to the moment when everything I thought I knew began to unravel in the most unexpected way. It happened during what seemed like a routine dive. I was descending into the depths of the ocean, the weight of my gear pressing against me, when I felt a sharp, stabbing pain in my chest. It was sudden, like a bolt of lightning, and within moments, my vision blurred. The once vivid blues of the water around me turned dark and cold, as if the ocean itself was swallowing me whole. Panic gripped me as I reached for the emergency regulator. But my body was failing. My thoughts raced to my family, my wife's laughter, my daughter's tiny hand holding mine. Then, everything stopped. In that instant, I felt my heart falter, and a chilling silence took over. But instead of fear, there was a strange, overwhelming stillness. A light, a brilliant, golden light, appeared in the darkness, pulling me toward it with a warmth I couldn't explain. The cold of the ocean melted away, replaced by an indescribable peace. As I floated toward the light, I realized this wasn't the end of my story, but the beginning of something far greater. A reality I had never imagined, but somehow had always known deep down. As I drifted toward the light, the darkness around me seemed to fall away like a heavy curtain being lifted. What replaced it was something so magnificent, so utterly beyond human comprehension, that words barely scratched the surface. It was as if I had stepped into a world of living light. The colors were not just vivid, they pulsed with life, shimmering and shifting in ways that defied explanation. The air, or what I thought was air, felt warm and electric, filled with a harmony that resonated deep within my soul. I looked down and realized I no longer had a physical body. Instead, I was a being of light myself, glowing faintly, yet feeling small in comparison to the radiance around me. Despite this transformation, I felt no fear. In fact, I was overwhelmed by a sense of belonging, as if this place had been waiting for me all along. Then I noticed them. Figures standing in the distance, enveloped in light so bright it was hard to make out their features. They weren't just people, they were something more. Their forms were ethereal, their presence powerful, yet calming. Somehow, I knew they were my soul family. A voice, clear and resounding, filled the space. Not spoken, but felt, as though it echoed directly within my spirit. "Welcome, Robert." The words carried an infinite depth of love, a love so pure it brought me to the verge of tears. As I approached the figures, one stepped forward, radiating a light even more brilliant than the rest. This being was unlike anything I had ever encountered. His eyes, if they could be called eyes, were like windows to eternity, filled with wisdom and compassion that seemed to pierce through every layer of my existence. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling, though I wasn't sure I had spoken aloud. "I am the one who has always walked with you, even when you did not see me," the being replied. His voice was like music, layered with tones that seemed to heal and comfort with every word. A flood of emotions washed over me. Gratitude, humility, and a deep longing I couldn't explain. "Am I dead?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. The being smiled gently. "You have left the life you knew, but this is not the end. It is the continuation of your journey, a chance to see and understand what you could not before." At that moment, the light around us intensified and the scene shifted. It was as if I had been transported to a vast, endless expanse filled with stars, each one glowing with a unique, vibrant energy. These are the souls connected to you, the being explained. Every light represents a bond, a moment of love, a shared purpose. I was awestruck. The stars pulsed and danced in a rhythm that felt familiar, as if they were playing the melody of my life. I could feel their warmth, their stories intertwining with my own. But as I gazed, I noticed some lights were dim, barely flickering. What happened to those? I asked, my heart heavy with concern. They are connections you neglected or broke through anger, fear, or indifference, the being said, his tone gentle but firm. But there is still hope. Every choice you make, every act of love, has the power to reignite them. Tears welled in my eyes as the weight of his words sank in. I thought of my life, my wife, my daughter, the times I had chosen work over family, pride over forgiveness. Here, in this place of infinite love, the truth of my life was laid bare, and it was both beautiful and heartbreaking. The being reached out, though he never physically touched me, and suddenly, memories began to play out before me like a vivid film. I saw moments from my life, times when I had chosen selfishness over kindness, when I had turned away from opportunities to love and serve others. Every action, every thought ripples through eternity, he said. Your choices not only shape your life, but also the lives of those around you. I wanted to look away, to escape the pain of my mistakes, but the being's presence held me steady. Do not fear this truth, he said. It is shown to you not as a judgment, but as a chance to learn and grow. As the memories faded, the light around us shifted once again. This time, I found myself standing before a river of golden light, its waters shimmering and alive. On the other side stood countless figures, men, women, children, radiating joy and peace. Who are they? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. They are your soul family, the being replied. Some you have known in your earthly life, others you have yet to meet. They are here to guide and support you, as you are meant to do for them. The figures began to sing, a melody so beautiful it brought me to my knees. It was a song of hope, of redemption, and of love that transcends all understanding. As I listened, I felt a deep sense of healing, as if every wound, every regret was being washed away. But then, the being's tone shifted, becoming more urgent. Your journey is not yet over, Robert, he said. You have been shown this not as a reward, but as a responsibility. The world you left is in desperate need of love and light, and you are being sent back to carry this message. I was stunned. Go back? But this place, it feels like home. I don't want to leave. The being knelt before me, his light dimming slightly to meet my gaze. Home is not a place, Robert. It is a state of being, a connection to the divine within and around you. You carry it with you, wherever you go. Before I could protest further, he placed his hands, or what felt like hands, over my heart. A surge of energy coursed through me, filling me with warmth and purpose. Remember this moment, he said, and let it guide you when you return. As the scene began to fade, I looked back at the river, the figures, and the light. Will I see you again? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. You were never apart from us, he said, his voice echoing as the light around me dissolved into darkness. And you never will be. With those final words, I felt myself falling, not with fear, but with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace the life I'd been given a second time. As a Navy diver, I had always prided myself on my ability to face danger head-on. I thought I understood risk, that I could prepare for any situation. But nothing in my training, no mission or emergency drill, could have readied me for the weight of the revelations I received. After being told I was returning to the world, I found myself standing in an expanse of shifting colors. It was neither the divine realm I had just left, nor the physical world I had once known. It felt like an in-between place, a space designed for reflection and understanding. The being of light appeared again, and his tone was gentle but firm. Robert, he began, you've seen the love that binds all things, but now you must see the forces that threaten to tear it apart. Before I could respond, the atmosphere around me shifted. The radiant colors dimmed, replaced by a suffocating darkness. In the distance, I saw visions flicker like a montage of chaos. Families fractured by anger, communities divided by greed, and individuals consumed by apathy. These are the subtle cracks in humanity, the being said. Small choices that seem insignificant, yet they echo across generations. Like a diver who neglects his equipment, these cracks lead to failure when left unaddressed. The image of a diver struggling to surface without oxygen flashed in my mind. It struck me how easily small oversights could lead to disaster, not just in my profession, but in life itself. Tell me what I can do, I said, my voice trembling. How can I help fix this? The being paused, as if weighing the gravity of his next words. It begins with awareness, Robert. People must wake up to the ways their daily choices build or break the world around them. But there is more for you to see. The darkness around us deepened, and I was suddenly transported to a vast, barren wasteland. The ground was cracked and dry, and the air was heavy with despair. In the distance, I saw a city in ruins, its towers crumbling, its streets filled with smoke. This is what happens when complacency and division grow unchecked, the being said. Greed leads to conflict, and conflict leads to destruction. I couldn't look away from the devastation. It was a world stripped of hope, a future that felt both distant and imminent. Is this what's to come? I asked, dread tightening in my chest. It is a possibility, the being replied, but it is not inevitable. Humanity has the power to change its course. It begins with individuals like you, Robert, people who are willing to act as beacons of love and truth. The scene shifted again, this time to a place of breathtaking beauty. Fields of golden light stretched as far as the eye could see, and people of every race and culture stood together, their hands raised in unity. This is what can be, the being said, a world healed by love, where humanity chooses connection over division, faith over fear, and hope over despair. But it requires action, sacrifice, and a willingness to listen to the divine within. His words resonated deeply, but questions filled my mind. How could I, just one person, make a difference in a world so vast and broken? Before I could voice my doubts, the being continued. Do not underestimate the ripple effects of one life lived in alignment with truth. Like a diver's precision, underwater can save a mission. Your choices can guide others toward the light. But you must share what you've seen, Robert. People need to know what is at stake. I nodded, determination building within me. I had been trained to confront challenges, to remain calm under pressure, and now I understood why. Every trial I had faced as a Navy diver was preparing me for this moment, to carry this message back to the world. The being's light grew brighter, enveloping me in warmth. Remember, Robert, he said, the choice is yours, but the time is urgent. Speak the truth, and let your life be a testament to what you've witnessed here. The visions began to fade, but the weight of the message remained, heavy yet invigorating. I knew this was just the beginning of my mission. The light dimmed, and once again, I found myself standing in the void. The being's voice resonated within me, now more urgent than before. Robert, you've seen the subtle cracks, the complacency, the divisions, but now you must witness the greater trials. What lies ahead is both terrifying and hopeful, and humanity must choose its path carefully. In an instant, the void around us exploded into a chaotic scene. I was standing amidst a battlefield, not of soldiers but of people, ordinary men, women, and children, crying out in fear and anger. Above them, the sky was filled with swirling dark clouds, pierced occasionally by jagged streaks of lightning. War is not always fought with weapons, the being said, his tone heavy with sorrow. It begins in the heart, with hatred, pride, and the refusal to forgive. These seeds grow into storms that engulf nations. I watched as the crowd turned on one another, their faces twisted with rage and fear. The ground beneath them began to crack, and flames erupted, consuming everything in their path. The scene was suffocating, the despair palpable. "Will this happen?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "It is already happening," the being replied. "This is the spiritual war humanity faces daily, a war for the soul of the world. But even in the darkest moments, there is hope." The fiery chaos faded, and I was transported to a scene of natural disaster. Towering waves crashed against cities, floods swept through neighborhoods, and earthquakes tore apart the earth. The destruction was immense, yet amidst the chaos, I noticed small pockets of light. Individuals helping one another, praying together, and standing firm against the fear. "Even in times of trial, the light endures," the being said. "These are the ones who hold fast to faith, who choose love over fear, even when the world crumbles around them. They are the hope for revival." As I watched, the pockets of light began to grow, connecting and spreading until they pushed back the darkness. The image was breathtaking, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness and faith could ignite change. "But the choice is not easy," the being continued. "The path of light requires sacrifice, humility, and unwavering faith, and there are forces working tirelessly to extinguish it." The scene shifted once more, and I found myself face to face with a shadowy figure. Its presence was oppressive, cold, and filled with malice. I could feel it probing my thoughts, searching for doubt and fear to exploit. "This is the adversary," the being said, stepping between me and the shadow. "It thrives on division, despair, and the illusion that humanity is beyond redemption. But its power is limited. It can only act where it is invited." The shadow lunged, but the being raised his hand, and a brilliant light erupted, forcing the darkness to retreat. "Remember this, Robert," he said. "The light is always stronger, but it must be chosen. Every act of love, every prayer, every step toward truth strengthens the light and weakens the darkness." I nodded, my resolve strengthening. "What can I do?" I asked. "You must warn them," the being said. "Tell them of the dangers of complacency, the power of unity, and the urgency of faith. Remind them that the world is not beyond saving, but it requires each person to play their part." The light around us intensified once more, and I was shown a final vision, a great revival sweeping across the earth. People of all nations, races, and backgrounds stood together, their hands raised in praise. The darkness was gone, replaced by a radiant light that covered everything. "This is what awaits those who choose love," the being said. "It is the promise of redemption, the triumph of light over darkness. But it begins with you, Robert, and those like you who are willing to carry this message." As the vision faded, I felt a deep peace settle over me. I knew my mission was clear: to return and share what I had seen, to be a light in a world desperate for hope. The being placed his hand over my heart, and I felt a surge of warmth and energy. "You are not alone," he said. "We are with you, always. Now go, and let the world see the light that burns within you." With those final words, the scene dissolved, and I felt myself falling, not into darkness, but into the world I had left behind, ready to face the challenges ahead and carry the message of hope, unity, and faith to all who would listen. The angel's final words echoed in my soul. "The darkness is strong, but the light of one faithful heart can pierce it." That truth stayed with me as I returned to this world, not as the man I once was, but as someone deeply transformed. I realized that the divine visions I had witnessed weren't meant to terrify, but to awaken. They were a call to action, not just for me, but for all of us. When I opened my eyes and found myself back in my hospital bed, I was surrounded by my family. Their tear-streaked faces, their trembling hands gripping mine, were a reminder of what truly mattered. It wasn't wealth, success, or recognition. It was love, connection, and the choices we make each day to bring light into the lives of those around us. But how do we start? How do we, ordinary people, respond to such extraordinary revelations? The angel showed me that revival doesn't begin with grand gestures or sweeping changes. It starts with simple, everyday actions. I saw visions of people around the world who, through small acts of kindness and faith, became catalysts for change. I saw a single mother who, despite her struggles, found the strength to forgive someone who had wronged her. That forgiveness created a ripple effect, inspiring her children and community to choose reconciliation over bitterness. I saw a man who decided to pray every morning, not just for himself, but for his neighbors and the world. His prayers became a foundation of hope, lifting spirits and drawing others closer to God. I saw a group of teenagers who, instead of succumbing to peer pressure, chose to organize a food drive for the homeless in their city. Their compassion sparked a movement that brought their community together in unity and love. None of these people considered themselves extraordinary. They were teachers, parents, students, and workers, people like you and me. Yet their choices, guided by faith and love, became the building blocks of a brighter world. The revelations I received weren't just warnings. They were an invitation for all of us to become agents of light in a darkening world. Here are some simple, practical steps we can take to prepare for what's ahead. Begin with prayer. Find a quiet moment each day to open your heart to God, seeking guidance, strength, and wisdom. Prayer isn't just a ritual, it's a lifeline, a connection to the divine. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful acts of love we can offer. It frees us from bitterness and creates space for healing and restoration. Who in your life needs your forgiveness? Take that step today. Small acts of kindness can create ripples that change lives. Hold the door for someone, offer a word of encouragement, or lend a helping hand. Let your actions reflect the love and compassion of Christ. The angel warned that complacency is one of the greatest threats to our spiritual well-being. Stay connected to your faith through scripture, worship, and community. Surround yourself with people who inspire and uplift you. Just as I was called to share my story, you are called to share your faith and hope with others. It doesn't have to be through grand speeches or dramatic gestures. Sometimes, simply living as an example of love and truth is the most powerful testimony of all. One moment from my journey stands out vividly. The angel had shown me a vision of a small candle in a vast, dark room. The candle's flame was faint, almost imperceptible, yet it refused to be extinguished. This is the power of one faithful heart, the angel said. Even in the greatest darkness, it brings hope. That image resonates deeply with me because I believe each of us has that candle within us. No matter how overwhelmed or insignificant we may feel, our light matters. Together, our flames can ignite a fire of revival that spreads across the world. The time to act is now. The angel's words were clear. The darkness grows stronger each day, but it cannot overcome the light if we stand firm in faith. Ask yourself, what legacy are you leaving behind? Are your daily choices building bridges or walls? These are questions we all must answer, and the answers begin with the choices we make today. Though the revelations I witnessed were sobering, they were also filled with hope. I saw glimpses of what humanity could achieve when guided by love and faith. A world of unity, where nations come together to heal and rebuild. A world where forgiveness replaces hatred and peace triumphs over fear. This vision isn't just a distant dream. It's a promise. But it's a promise that requires action. In John 8:12, Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." That light is within all of us, and it's our responsibility to let it shine. Before I end, let me ask you, what step can you take today to bring light into someone's life? How can you be a beacon of hope in your family, your community, or your workplace? Take that step now. Pray, forgive, give, and love with all your heart. The world is waiting for your light. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We are all connected, part of a greater soul family bound by love and guided by faith. Together, we can push back the darkness and create a world where light reigns supreme. If this story has touched you, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Let's spread this message of hope far and wide. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss inspiring content like this. Together, we can keep the flame of hope burning bright.